excited for you guys to be here. So obviously this is our second time, well not obviously, it's obvious for you, but it's our second time out here meeting with the community to give you our progress update on the library. What we have up here we have had 4 weeks of online input. We are at our second meeting now with you guys. We were at the town hall about a month or two ago, I guess, now. Got a lot of information, and we tried to distill that information and really find out what was at the heart of it, what could make this library the most meaningful for this community. You see this kind of little graphic up here, and those are actually the words that came out the most of the comments that you guys submitted, the comments that you submitted. So really about the community and having it be a place of learning and activity and a place for the youth. And when we talked to y'all, a lot of the things that we found out were that, a lot of you are really joined together by being here for your family, really education opportunities, work opportunities, things like that. And you didn't necessarily all feel like you had a strong sense of community identity, of what, is this community's, what does it boil down to? And so as we started thinking about that, we thought about the fact that this library is really going to be the first cultural center in this part of town. And so it's going to be your opportunity to define what that culture of this part of town wants to be. So we came up with this idea of this library being the northwest part of town's cultural canvas. It's the place for you to build and define that culture. So thinking about really what does a library have to offer the neighborhood? It's things like books, obviously, but it's also things like arts and creativity. It's a place to connect. And when you put all those things together, you have opportunities to increase diversity. You have opportunities for catalysts for new ideas. And those are all things that came out of the comments that y'all were saying that you wanted for the future of this community and you felt like you moved here for. So trying to create, sorry, the kind of text underneath is a little bit blurry on that, but taking those spaces that are really focused on the idea of arts and creativity and culture, and how can we interpret those into a space for you guys that is a place that you can come to display your latest ideas, for the kids to come and learn about all of the literature and history and things that are going on, but make it your own every day. And so that's really where this idea of a cultural canvas came from. We don't want to be necessarily backwards looking and saying, what is the history of this area, and does that define us tomorrow? We don't want to necessarily be tied into this idea of all of the aviation and industry that's around us, because that's not necessarily how you all identify. So really thinking about it as an ability for you guys to write your own story here. So Anita, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the site. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so if you all are familiar with this site, it is on the south side of Avondale-Hazlitt Road. You have this up here if you want to look at it a little bit closer later. It's pretty much a blank slate, no previous development. There's a tree that's in despair that we weren't going to be able to save. So we've had a lot of options and quick studies, and so far we've landed with the parking lot on the south end off of the road, so that's not the first thing you're seeing. We want the building to be set right there where the community can see it, they can drive by, great visibility. We're also thinking about pedestrian connections, so you'll see a sidewalk along that north end, but we're also respecting that future right-of-way of Avondale-Hazlitt. We also heard a lot of good communication about just wanting to have places to gather, maybe have a cup of coffee, so you'll see a little bit more patio space here than you might see in a traditional library. We like this idea of having a big porch, a pergola, an overhang, so that you can take that activity outside, or maybe just meet a friend out there before going in. You'll see different orientations of furniture, maybe little different pockets that are reading nooks, different materials, just so that there's a nice variety and option for different generations, different size groups. Maybe this furniture can be moved out and you can have a small event or programming opportunity with the library sitting. All of this is also buffered just with our trees and landscape. We like to focus on a native plant palette when working with the city because we know they are being maintaining it. We don't want to propose something that they have to invest in too much. Then we want it to be a good balance for them. So parking on the south end, you'll also see some trends here and some imagery on detaining and retaining water on site. There is a low spot on the site today. We're going to take advantage of that so that we can capture our runoff. Since we are developing this blank slate, we have to keep that balance as it was before development. So small little detention area, but we'll treat that nicely. Some aesthetic enhancements. So think about cobbles and native rock and trees that really fit well with that type of application. Our parking lots will also help us filter some of that water on site before it runs off, and you'll see that in the parking islands as pipe swells. And we're also just trying to be a good neighbor, so you'll see some planting around the perimeter of the parking lot just to help screen that. You've got the school on the east side, and then a business on the west side.
And as we looked at the site, we know, right across Avondale Hazlet is Sendero Ranch. There's a lot of families that may be coming from there. So while some people are going to be coming and driving in their cars, maybe most people, we are assuming, our entry to the building is really focused a little bit more towards the parking lot, so that when you arrive in your car and park, it's easy to walk up. But we didn't want the building to completely turn its back to the community. So that's actually how we've ended up with a building of this shape. So the building kind of funnels you from Avondale Hazlet to the southwest on the site map up here, to a big covered porch that becomes the entry space. So that kind of dash line, if you see it coming off of the southeast corner of the building, would be a big covered plaza area that you can use for events, or it becomes just kind of a nice entry experience.
And I skipped over the little drop-off. Oh, I can almost reach it. The drop-off area at the top, that would be great for if you just need to zoom in there and do a book drop. But also, if you are having an event there and you need a truck to kind of pull up and unload, that would be really great to kind of have that easily accessible on the staff side, or just located next to a rental space within the library.
So this is a conceptual design, but when we're designing the library, we want to really early on look at how all of the things that we know need to fit within that space do based on the footprint that's starting to be developed. So at the very beginning of the process, we met with the library staff to understand how big the collection needs to be in order to serve your community. And so the long, skinny kind of rectangles, those are shelves. And so we've been thinking about the shelves. What does staffing look like? Making sure there's enough room for staff. What does technology look like? And there are some state standards that we follow for that as well to give us some information about what that needs to be for each library. But really the unique pieces in this building are what we heard from all of you at the last community meeting that we had, at the community input at Texas Motor Speedway, and at the online survey that was put out related to this building. And so every library reflects the community and what you all said that you wanted. So, I don't have a pointer, do we?
I was going to see if I could. Here, you can try this if you want. But I don't know how well.
Where it says best, that's the vestibule. You enter into the building there. To the left is the Idea Lab. That is a makerspace, a messy activity room. So moppable floor, drain, a place to do robotics, to do maybe 3D printing, just get messy in that space. That space can open up onto the plaza that Douglas and Anita were talking about. So those messy activities can go inside and outside. Our restrooms and a multi-purpose room that is divisible, so that could be 2 rooms or 1 big room. So a space for story time, for meetings like this, for adult activities, can all happen in that area. And that whole section can be locked off so that that part of the library is accessible outside of library hours. So for an evening homeowners meeting or a morning event before the library opens. As you go into the library, to the right is the children's area. So that's where the picture books are, the board books, family seating, family reading areas. We've talked about some interactive activities like the little boy building the ball wall and within the space. There's an opportunity for the kids to directly access that multi-purpose room, and so that could become a really fun experience for the kids going into story time directly from the library and then back into the library to check out all of their books before they leave. Right above that is the teen area, space for perhaps gaming, for hangout, for homework. It's also close to the study rooms that we know the teens really use for group projects for school, but also small businesses, knitting groups, book clubs, lots of uses. And there's 3 4-person study rooms and 1 bigger conference room. So lots of places for groups to meet within the space. Where it says adult is the fiction collection, and then seating that looks out over the front lawn that faces north, and so lots of good light coming into that space. To the left of that is the quiet reading room. So this is enclosed for people that want to come in and study or read or fill out a job application. They need really quiet space. That's the space to go. And right outside of that is the nonfiction collection. In the middle of the space where it says information, that's kind of the retail area of the library, the greeting area. When you put a book on hold, it'll be there because it's self-check. The new books will be in that area. Seating, the business part of the library where there are copiers and catalogs and self-checks. And then the green is the staff area. So this is where the library staff makes all of the magic happen. So they're checking in books, preparing for programs. There's offices, break areas and storage. So a very efficient but a functional space for them to work. And then the last thing that I'll point out is the conference room that is shared. So a staff and public conference room adds 1 more place for staff and the public to gather and to meet.
And like Maureen said, as we worked through this, we really heard you guys say that you needed spaces to do all sorts of different scales of activities. Different types of activities like, Bible study to Girl Scout meeting, etc. And so this plan is really shaped around giving y'all the most access that could be afforded and fit in the 18,000 square feet of the building. So we've worked really hard to kind of be as efficient, like Maureen said, with like staff areas and things like that to maximize the spaces that you guys are gonna have to use for whether it's studying or job applications or a work from home day or any of that kind of stuff.
And community living room was one of the phrases that I heard from you all that really stood out. And so I did point out all of the different places and ways to sit in this building, but there are tables for 2 and tables for 4, lounge chairs by themselves, lounge chairs in kind of a conversation group. So lots of different opportunities for you all to connect and interact. Or be around other people, but be by yourself, which is also what a lot of people like to do in the library.
And on this plan, you can kind of see a little bit better the area right outside the front door. Here, you can see this kind of subtle dash line here, but that's where we're wanting to have a big covered porch area so that if you want to have an event, maybe a summer evening, you want to have an event and a band or something going on, that you have a nice space that's covered here that you can get together, or if you want to go outside and read when it's raining, or just stay out of the sun and like the 100% of summer days here when it's way too hot to be in the sun, but if you're in the shade, maybe it'd be a little bit better. So all of those things are hopefully going to really make this space one that will be at the heartbeat of your community. And so I want to show some early kind of loose concept renderings of the building. Again, as we talked about earlier, we are really thinking about this idea, and there's some printouts of them over here also you guys can come look at afterwards. But the idea of that cultural canvas, the building, not wanting to necessarily have this identity as, oh, this building is a really rustic style, or this building is an ultra-modern style, but something that can mean something to everybody and can really live and grow with your community as your identity grows and changes. So we want something that's really, it's contemporary, but it's really clean lines. It's something that looks like it could, really fit a lot of different ideas and communities all over Fort Worth. But we'll give you guys the opportunity to build your own character here. So this is looking from kind of this parking lot side. If you're standing here, looking towards the building, this is that big covered area and the entry porch. And over to the right side of the image over there, that's where the big multi-purpose room would be. This is a view at the top here, looking from Avondale Hazlitt at that nice kind of adult reading area that has really great north light coming in for reading. The collections there, the quiet reading room would be in this corner with really nice views out. The conference rooms and study rooms would be over to this side. And you can see as you're coming from the community across the street, you'll have this great sidewalk that really kind of pulls you in towards the covered plaza at the far side. And at the bottom left here, another view looking straight on at that plaza area where you can have different, summertime events or whatever it be, just sitting outside. Anita talked about having different seating postures and, kind of breaking that space up so that it can be one large space or it can feel like little rooms that you can use for different functions. And then this view on the right is really that view like Anita spoke about, where that quick drop-off would happen, where you can have a book drop to pull through and just dump your books, or for deliveries, unloading, that kind of stuff, a spot to park